Hey everyone, and welcome to our lesson on subjects and verbs. Complete sentences are often defined as expressing complete thoughts, and while it's true that a sentence should express a complete thought, this definition has caused a lot of confusion. Thoughts really aren't measurable. It's not easy to say whether something is a quarter of a thought or half of a thought or a complete thought. So while it's true that we don't want to interrupt the thought before it's complete, this definition is not exactly reliable. A better definition is that a complete sentence contains a subject and a verb that express an idea that can stand on its own. In other words, a complete sentence has to contain at least one independent clause, a clause that could be a sentence by itself. Now, this definition includes some grammatical terms, so it might not sound as simple as the idea that a sentence expresses a complete thought. However, it will give you a far more accurate understanding of sentence structure. To appreciate this definition, you must first understand the terms subject and verb. So what are subjects and verbs? Subjects and verbs are the building blocks of sentence structure. All sentences must contain at least one subject and one verb. Sometimes a complete sentence can have more than one subject and more than one verb. Sometimes a statement can have a subject and verb but still not form a complete sentence. We'll talk about those occasions in another video, but for now, let's review the definitions of subjects and verbs. Let's start with verbs. Verbs are actions. All sentences involve an action of some kind. Now, not all verbs are easily recognizable as actions, but to be considered complete, sentences need to have someone or something perform an action of some kind. So, if we take for example the sentence, Jack ran 12 miles, the verb is ran because this is what Jack is doing. And in this case, the verb is very obvious because running is such a physical activity. But in some cases, the verb might be more difficult to spot. If we say, Jack slept for 12 hours, the verb is not as easily recognizable because it doesn't appear that Jack is doing anything. However, slept is the verb. It's not as obvious of an action as running, but it still tells us what Jack is doing. Even less obvious are to be verbs. To be verbs communicate states of existence. They include is, are, am, was, were, be, and been. They communicate states of existence and sometimes function as helping verbs. For example, the sentence, Jack is tired, communicates that Jack is experiencing an existence of being tired. He's in a state of exhaustion. For a lot of people, is does not seem like an obvious verb, but it is the verb of the statement. Jack is existing as being tired. So to be verbs communicate states of existence, and then again, they sometimes function as helping verbs. In the statement, Jack is sleeping, the verb is acts as a helping verb for sleeping. In this statement, is sleeping would be our verb phrase since both is and sleeping are being used as verbs together. To have a complete sentence, we also absolutely must have a subject. Subjects are actors. All subjects are nouns, which are people, places, things, or ideas, but not all nouns are subjects. Subjects are nouns that perform verbs. They perform an action of some kind. So always think of the subject of a sentence as its main actor, as the noun that performs the main verb of that statement. Now, when I was in school, I was told that the subject of a sentence is what the sentence is about. I don't know about you, but I found that definition so confusing because in a lot of cases, what the sentence is about is not always clear. For instance, if we take the sentence, the cat sat on the mat, we have two nouns in here, the cat and the mat. Now, to answer the question, what is the sentence about? Most people probably would say that it's about the cat, But some might argue that it's about the mat, since the mat is the one being sat upon. Such confusion would be even more likely to occur in a sentence like, the cat scratched the dog. If asked, what is this sentence about? Some people would understandably argue that the sentence is about the dog, especially if the dog is bleeding from being scratched. But grammatically, the subject is the cat because the cat is the one performing the action. We have scratched as our verb, and if we ask the question who or what scratched, the answer is the cat. So the cat is our subject and scratched is our verb. So instead of thinking about the subject as the topic of a sentence or what the sentence is about, think of it as the actor. It's much easier to recognize subjects if you remember that the subject of a sentence always performs the main verb. It always performs an action. So in both of these sentences, the cat performs the verb. So in both cases, the cat is our subject.